Okay, so let's be real. The fire hose of AI news is just relentless, right? It feels like you're trying to drink from it every single day. So the big question is, what actually matters? What's the real signal and what's just noise? Well, that's what we're here to do. We're going to distill the essentials from the latest in AI. Let's dive right in.
You know, this quote really hits home. It came out of the Humanoid Summit, and it just perfectly captures the mood right now. It's not a matter of if AI is going to change everything. I mean, that ship has sailed. The real question is just how long until it does. And honestly, it feels like that timeline is getting shorter and shorter every single week.
So yeah, it is so easy to get lost in all of the hype, right? One minute it's this new model, the next it's some crazy demo. So what we're going to do is cut straight through all of that. We're going to focus on the trends that are actually, shaping our future. And we'll start with the big picture stuff, the forecasts.
All right, first up, let's take a look at where the experts think all this is headed. Because this isn't just about the tech, right? It's not just about code. It's about how AI is really starting to shake things up in our economy and, well, our whole society.
Okay, check this out. What's really fascinating here is the timeline. Experts over at Stanford, they're circling 2026 on the calendar. And they're not talking about little tweaks here and there. Nope. They're forecasting major breakthroughs in large language models, LLMs, and in generative AI. And because things are moving so fast, it's kicking up this huge sense of urgency around how we govern this stuff.
And that urgency, it leads directly to this really tricky economic question. If an AI system replaces a worker, should that AI pay taxes? I mean, think about that for a second. This isn't some far-off sci-fi debate anymore. It's becoming a very real policy problem, like right now.
And of course, there are two sides to this. It's a real tug of war. On one side, you have the argument that, hey, we could use that tax revenue to fund social safety nets, right? Help retrain workers who've been displaced. But on the other side, there's the fear that if you tax it, you might slow down innovation. You could stifle progress. It's that classic dilemma. How do you balance progress with protection?
Okay, so let's shift gears. Let's go behind the curtain and peek inside the research labs, because this is where the future is actually being built. The fundamental research happening today is what makes everything we've just talked about even possible.
So what are the researchers focused on right now? Well, it seems to boil down to three big themes. First, making AI way more robust and safe. Second, making AI truly personal, for you, the end user. And third, and this is a big one, giving AI a body and the ability to act in the real world. That's what we call embodied and agentic AI.
And here's a perfect example of that push into embodied AI. There's this super cool new paper called Particulate. And what it does is, well, it shows how an AI can look at a 3D model of something, say a desk lamp, and just get it. It instantly understands all the moving parts, the joints, how it's supposed to work. It's basically teaching AI to see the world not as a flat picture, but as a collection of 3D objects it can actually interact with. Pretty wild.
Okay, now let's talk about that personalization piece. Think about the last time you bought something online, like a camera. You had to scroll through, hundreds of reviews? It's exhausting. Now imagine you could just ask, hey, is this a good camera for a total beginner who just wants to shoot landscapes? Well, that's exactly what new frameworks like Sum4U are trying to do. They're designed to give you answers tailored specifically for you.
But listen, all this amazing progress, it doesn't mean a thing if these systems aren't safe and secure. I mean, that's the foundation for everything. And that's why there's this huge research effort focused purely on safety. We're talking about really practical stuff, like figuring out how to fingerprint AI-generated images so we know where they came from. Or, and this is crucial, creating rock-solid ways to certify that the AI in, say, a self-driving car is actually safe. The stakes are just incredibly high.
All right, so we've been in the lab. Now let's step out into the real world. How is all this research actually hitting the market? Where's the money going? Let's talk products, venture capital, and the trends you can see happening right now.
And when we talk about money, wow, the investment going into embodied AI is just staggering. Get this, there are around 50 different companies that have each raised over $100 million. And that's just to develop humanoid robots. That is a tidal wave of cash pouring into this space, and it is happening incredibly fast.
This focus on real-world stuff is even changing how people get hired. Forget those old-school brain teasers. Companies like 4Token AI are now using what they call real-work simulations. Basically, they're testing engineers by giving them tasks that are exactly like what they do on the job. It's a huge shift, right? It's less about your resume and more about, can you actually do the work?
And you can bet the big tech players are all over this. Take NVIDIA. They just dropped their Nemotron 3 models. And here's why this is a big deal. 1, they're open source, so any developer can get their hands on them and start building. 2, they're built specifically for these new autonomous AI agents. And 3, they even have these tiny nano versions that are so efficient you can run them on a single GPU. What does that all mean? It's about getting powerful AI into the hands of way more people.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. Forecasts, research, the market. So let's bring it all together. What's the final takeaway? What's the bottom line here?
When you connect all the dots, a few big themes really jump out. First, the sheer speed of it all. AI is accelerating at a blistering pace. Second, it's not just theory anymore. We're seeing a huge pivot to real-world products. Third, that idea of embodied AI. Giving AI a physical presence is where a ton of the money and brainpower is going. And finally, because of all this, the tough conversations about governance and ethics, they're not optional anymore. They're front and center.
And that really leaves us with one big, critical question that you have to ask yourself. With AI evolving this fast, is your strategy built for yesterday's technology or for tomorrow's reality? Because whether you're an investor, an executive, or a researcher, figuring out your plan for what's coming next isn't just important, it's everything. And that's really the core idea to take away from this whole thing.